Hey everybody, welcome back. This is another story time with Jules by the Sea. Okay, I'm gonna get right into it. This particular story is about soul traveling. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but I do soul travel. I do believe in it 100%. I'm gonna start this story out with giving you just a little bit of information about soul traveling. So bear with me one second. I've got some information that I looked up on the internet. I mean, I do know this information, but to clarify and be a little bit more precise, I wanted to read a little bit about soul traveling in case you've never heard of it. Okay, so spiritual travel is different from dreaming in a number of important ways. In spiritual travel, the traveler's awareness is heightened and the traveler is able to direct the experience if desired. This is unlike dreaming, in which the dreamer's awareness is dulled and the dreamer lacks initiative in most dreams. The dream drama unfolds as if controlled by some outside force with little or no control exercised by the dreamer. And that is very, very true, because when I soul travel, I'm pretty much in control. I know kind of where I am, and I can go where I choose. Nothing's stopping me. It's not crazy. It's not random. It's kind of has a beginning, a middle, and an end. In spiritual travel, the traveler is always aware that he or she has left the physical body and the world that is encountered is not the physical world. In normal dreaming, however, the dreamer believes the dream is real as if he or she is acting in the physical world, which is very true. This explains the great fear in nightmares, where any threat is perceived as a threat to the physical body, which could result in death. And that, as you all know, if you've ever had a nightmare, that is very, very true. Since the spiritual traveler's awareness is clear and concentrated, there is usually no difficulty in remembering the experience. I remember every single solitary thing that I dream. Many people have trouble remembering their dreams because most dreamers experience a dulled form of awareness during dreams. So that's a little bit about soul traveling. If you want to know more, or if you have questions, of course, feel free to comment below and I will be more than happy to answer any questions. But to dive right into my story, because I don't want this to be like 20 minutes long, my dream is pretty much, how can I compare this? I'm going to compare this to the movie Insidious. Now, I know a lot of people have seen that movie Insidious, where when the guy, I think it's in part 2, where he is trapped, the father is actually trapped in, I don't want to call it purgatory, but he's trapped in that place with all the souls, with all the dead people. That's what happens when you soul travel. He obviously comes back to his family in that parallel universe, and he's back in his house, and he's trying to warn his wife is actually the evil kid of the lady who was torturing him most of his life. So again, it's very, very similar to Insidious. I mean, I can't have the more perfect comparison so that you can understand it a little bit better. So my dream is about, or I should say my soul travel, it's about a demon visitor. And this is really hard for me to talk about. It was one of the most horrific soul traveling that I've done. I went to bed, it was just like any other night. I remember it was shortly after I broke up with my high school sweetheart. So this was a while ago. I think I was in probably not too long ago. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that I was in my early 20s, but this was a few years ago. And I remember before I went to bed, the only thing that I can attribute maybe my soul traveling to is because I was with my high school sweetheart for about 6 years. That's a really long time to be with someone. And it was hard. It was a really hard breakup, and when you're with someone for that long and you're madly in love and you believe it's true love, you miss that person. You miss that touch. You miss that warmth, the intimacy that you shared. And before I went to bed that night, I was particularly missing that, I think. So I went to bed, and I think when you soul travel, I really can't explain why I soul traveled, but I believe that your body relaxes to a point where your spirit feels that it's safe to slip away, and that's exactly what happened. I pretty much woke up, and when I woke up, and you'll see as I continue to tell my stories, it's like I wake up in this different dimension. So I woke up, I was still in my room, which I'm like, okay, this is really weird that I would wake up in my room. Everything was exactly the same because I was in a different dimension. And I'll call it dimension. I don't know what else to call it. And at the door appears, I see somebody walking towards the door. My door was open, which is unusual because, you know, when I go to sleep, my door is always closed. The most beautiful freaking man I have ever seen in my life appeared at the door. He had no clothes on. I mean, he had a six-pack, beautiful broad chest, muscles. He had very dark, pitch black hair. He was tan. Just a beautiful, beautiful man. And I looked at him and he looked at me, and he comes and he had like a, not a loincloth, but it was like a white sarong wrapped around his waist, covering him. And he just gets into bed with me. And at the very start, I mean, he just hugs me. He takes me into his arms. It's wonderful. He starts kissing me. He starts touching me. I mean, what better than this beautiful Adonis, this man, this beautiful, beautiful man who starts hugging, kissing, and caressing, and the whole 9 yards. What's better than that, right? You're probably thinking, oh, you're an idiot. Why didn't you go with it? Well, I didn't go with it because everything in me was screaming, something's wrong. Something's not right. It's too real. It's too much. So I'm trying to fight all these emotions and feelings that I'm having at the moment with this man in my bed. And so I didn't understand why I was getting all the red flags in the mornings. Get out, get out, get out. Stop, stop, stop. Don't do it. Don't go any further. Then I just started to feel fear. This tremendous, tremendous fear enveloped me, wrapped me up so freaking tight that the only thing I wanted to do was get the hell away from him. So I started fighting him off. I was like, no, 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 no. And I figured, okay, well, if I say no, he is going to stop. He didn't stop. He didn't stop at all. So then I freaked out even more. I don't know how I was able to get away from him, but I got away from him. At the time I was living with my mom, so her house is a 2-story house. I got away from him, and I remember running downstairs. My mom had the master bedroom on the ground floor, so I ran in there. And before I actually went to bed and I woke up in the other dimension, she had been in there praying. I remember saying goodnight to her, but when I went inside of this dimension, she was asleep. She was dead asleep. And the room was very dark. So I hopped in the bed with her. I had the covers up to my chin. And I'm like, okay, he's not coming. He's not going to come in here. He's not going to come in here. Well, lo and behold, I hear him coming down the steps. I hear the footprints of his feet coming down the steps. And he was screaming, why did you leave? Where are you? How dare you leave me? How dare you? And I'm like, oh my, what the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I'm in the bed with my mom. I'm trying to wake her up. Dead asleep, didn't wake up. There was nobody else in the house but her and me. And I'm moving her. I'm shaking her. I'm like, please, 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 please wake up. She would not wake up. So I just sat there with the covers on my face, holding onto them for dear life. And who comes to the doorway? It's him. And he is no longer that beautiful man that came to me at the beginning. He is, his skin is peeling off. He looks bloody. His face is deformed. His hair is no longer that beautiful black, silky, hair that he had when he first came. His eyes were sunken in. Like I said, his face was like melting off. It was disgusting. I was so petrified. I did not know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know where. I couldn't get out of the room because he was in the doorway and there was no way for me to get out of the room except going out the window. But then how could I leave my mom? So, okay. So I'm thinking all of this, and I thought I was going to go nuts. I thought I was going to go crazy. I thought I was going to die in the dream. So in the dream, I remember the only thing that I could think of to say was, please, Jesus, help me. And as soon as I said that, as soon as those words came out of my mouth, I felt a peace come over me, and then I felt something lift me from the inside. Now, as I said this, of course, he was coming closer, and he was cursing, and he was screaming, and he was getting uglier and uglier and more disgusting as he came closer to the bed. So the last thing I wanted to do was go towards him. That was the last thing I wanted to do, but I was forced to. Something lifted me from the inside. It was like a very firm, very extremely gentle, the most gentle force I have ever felt in my life, took me over, pulled me up off out of that bed and towards him. I had my hand out in front of me like this, if you can see, and as you recall, if you're Catholic, if you're religious, as you recall, that's how Jesus cast out demons. He would put his hand out and begin to speak. Well, when I was speaking, I still had my mind, I still had my free will, but I knew I needed help. So I just allowed him to lift me up and walk me towards him. Now, it's hard to explain because I was just kind of a visitor in my body and a visitor in this thing that I was going through. But I had my hand up and I remember speaking. I was speaking it was just words that were just coming out of my mouth and I couldn't hear one word. I could hear nothing, but I knew I was speaking and I knew that I was being driven by a force that was not my own. So I said, you know what? I don't want to go near you, but whatever's happening is working. The thing started to back up. It started screaming. It started writhing. It was like this piercing, horrible, disgusting, guttural thing. It was just coming out of it, and it looked like it was in pain, and it was shriveling up, and slowly but surely it started breaking in on itself. Like the arm cracked and went in, the other arm cracked and went in, his chest caved in, his legs broke and went up, and I just kept talking, I kept my hand out, and of course I couldn't hear what I was saying, and I don't remember. I would tell you what I said, but I don't remember what I said. And he backed up into a corner, and until he just poof, he disappeared. And that was what my first soul traveling experience that I can remember clearly was like. And this is why I'm telling this story. I know this is the month of Christmas, and out of respect, I'm probably not going to go into any of the more horrible stories that I have, but I just really needed to share that one. And yeah, that was my soul traveling experience. So hope you liked it. Please subscribe. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to comment and ask me questions. I'll be more than happy to answer anything. I know that when I'm telling these stories, I'm kind of missing a lot of information and I'm not sure what the heck I'm missing. So please feel free to ask any questions. And again, this has been Storytime with Jules by the Sea. So I'm looking forward to my next video. And again, like I said, the stories are going to be a bit softer. So if you're just interested in the supernatural or any of my dream travels, that will definitely begin again in January. But I wish you a Merry Christmas if you're not watching, and Happy Holidays. And of course, I'll continue as the month goes along to wish you a very, very, very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And until my next video.